How's it going, everybody? It's Krusty Old Crow back again doing another alternative perspective toy review. Today I'm doing number 27. I am covering X Factor's A Strong Guy. Hold up, wait a minute. Let me get some Guido in it. Okay, this is one of my favorite old 90s era X family characters. By favorite, I mean in the B-list categories. He's no Wolverine. He's no Colossus. He ain't even no Juggernaut, right? But what he was in the 90s was a breath of fresh air in an area of overdrawn and over-exaggerated superheroes. This was almost like a fourth wall break on behalf of the fans to say, what about a guy that's just so complacent and relaxed in what he is that he's almost lost? And that's what I felt about Guido Carosella as I show you the back of the box and the write-up. All right, so let's get the biggest thing I wanted to share with some of you out of the way. Why would you name a guy Strong Guy? Well, it was actually part of what I was saying, that breath of fresh air. It happened shortly after Guido Carosella, who was the roadie for a mutant musician named Lila Chenley, who played across the universe. Kind of like the Starjammers and like Star-Lord and Guardians of the Galaxy. He would bounce around as a roadie. But eventually there came a crisis on Muir Island that involved the X-Men, and Guido had to step up and become the mutant muscle to help the X-Men and save the day. This led him to become a member of X Factor. And during a press conference where Val Cooper was introducing this new iteration of X Factor that had him, Wolfsbane, Multiple Man, Polaris, Havoc, I can't remember who else at the time, I think Forge was there. They asked him, "Who are you?" And he had no name ready. No one considered what code name they would give Guido, but it was one of the members of the media that remembers all the formulas for every successful superhero team that said, "Aren't you the strong guy?" And he was like, "Yeah, strong guy." And the name stuck. And no one could really unstuck it. It just was something he was very aloof about. And after a while, very firm about, like, that's my name. That's what I am. I'm the strong guy. And he was. Strong Guy would later go on to become a member of X Factor, like I said. He's been bouncing around through the X-Men titles over the years, long since after I stopped collecting. But when I last left him, he had a sense of real mortality to him in that he had a heart condition, which compromised his health. You know, the big, strong guy had a fragility that everybody, I think, knows somebody affected by heart health, right? So I thought that was cool. Anyways, there's your little history of what I know about Strong Guy. I'm going to get him out of the box. I'm going to show you what he comes with. I'm going to have some fun playing with him today. And I'm going to come down to that final assessment like I do all the big boys and the little. I'm going to say, is he worthy? All right, stay tuned. I'll find out. And if you like these kind of videos, don't forget, like, share, subscribe. That's part of the deal that helps this channel, and I appreciate every single part of it. All right, guys, thanks very much. Let's go play with Guido Carosella, Strong Guy. All right, so you can see that back print. I feel it should have had an X on it, but it's got that generic Marvel back print. But here we have our boy Guido Carosella in all his disproportionate glory. He looks like the current Brock Lesnar, you know, all upper body, but feels like leg day should be coming any day. I loved the disproportionate look of Guido from the day he joined the X-Men and X Factor lineups. I thought that he was very, very, very cool. But you can see right away, right? This was a Build-A-Figure release. And it shows because it's still the Build-A-Figure buck. This disassembles very easily, as I show you. It's no problem. So this counts to me as a reprint of something that's already been in the line as I reassemble them with ease, thankfully. Can't do this with any action figure. Those of you new to the lines, please make sure you research the figure to find out if he was ever meant to disassemble in such a way. But Guido, like I said, he was a Build-A-Figure from one of those waves there. I'll probably do some research later, post that up. I was not collecting Marvel Legends at the time, was not aware. And I certainly, you know, I understand why he was a Build-A-Figure. I don't know if I would have wanted to buy an entire wave of other figures to assemble him. So seeing him back out now in his large mass glory is great. And again, like I said, as far as B-list X-Men goes, he was on the top of one of my desirables. He was just such a cool character, laid back. You can see he sports those awesome little sun-shaded circular glasses are a core integral part of Guido's character. And it just lended to this idea of the big bad bouncer that Lila had working for him that nobody wanted to mess with, right? He was a nice enough guy. He had a big heart and everything like that. And like I said earlier, he had a vulnerable heart. But they've done a great job representing him in this figure with the X Factor, yellow, silver, and blue. I'd like to see more figures show up like that. Currently, I just have my Wolfsbane that really goes with this figure for X Factor outings. I could probably pair off a lot of my X-Men blue and gold sets, and he'd look that fine at it. But yeah, he was definitely from a specific era of the X Factor in this one, and we're talking like the mid-90s, 91, 92, 93, somewhere in there, I'm sure. He did show up in the animated series, but I never really paid much attention because, like I said, B-list character. I don't think they gave him a lot of script, but very much enjoying it. Those hands, like I said, they are the ones that pivot up and down, not like that. Handshake pivots, no. Waving pivot, yeah, sure. You know, I loved the feature that had the thumbs up. Like Guido Carosella is always a guy that if you ask, he would tell you everything's going just fine dandy, right? No problems doing head swaps and part swaps. Even with pulling the hands off, you know, no jeopardy to the Build-A-Figure core. You're not going to pull the whole arm off trying to get the hand off. And yes, everything is cool with Guido Carosella. I'm going to show you the obvious there, and that is that if you're looking for a very articulate character, go looking somewhere else. That is not our boy. Strong Guy is not all that articulate at all. When it comes to the arms, he's got the shoulders. He does not have butterflies, and he does not have bicep swivel. It's all in the shoulder, and then a wrist, elbow, sorry, an elbow and wrists. Does his wrist move? No, just an elbow ball joint there, right? That's all you're working with, but it works for the mass and of this character. I always laughed when I saw him come out, you know, filling that strong guy role. Like they said, he just gave himself his title that he would give himself in a role-playing game if he was doing a party. Yeah, you're going to be the ranger, you're going to be the magic guy, you're going to be the thief guy, I'll be the strong guy, the tank, as it were, right? He's a colossus, he's a Hulk, he's you know, no one's as strong as the Juggernaut and Hulk when it comes to that kind of leveling, but he's up there, right? He absorbs kinetic energy and converts it into strength and mass, and that overloaded his heart at one point, like I said. So, great fun figure. Didn't expect it to be all that articulate because, like I said, in the comics, I laugh because the panel could always be filled with Guido. If you didn't feel like drawing a background, you drew Guido and stood him behind one of the X Factor guys. And that was 90% of your background every time. Cover art, need more background? Add Guido. So I love it. I love the little nod to the zipper uniform part. That was such a 90s trend part of their uniforms when they were trying to make everything look more functional than before and just, you know, the same kind of pouchings and everything that you would find on Cyclops or Havoc and that same kind of uniform stuff. But guys, breaks down to that final question, you know, is Guido worthy? Well, he is. But I didn't cover this accessory, right? And this is why I say he's worthy, because it's not because this accessory is funny or great. It's wobbly, disproportionate, and not disproportionate, but unbalanced, and really affects the weight when you're posing a character with such large upper body and low legs. So I say Guido's worthy, but when you add this feature and try to work it, yes, it makes him look cooler, but it compromises and exposes the balance vulnerability that Strong Guy has. So I say it's worthy in spite of a very well-hearted accessory intention here, right? I love this. I do wish they had a more firm wire that would allow us to keep it straight, but it's not. There's nothing inside this, and that's why I'm showing you how wobbly it is in the pics. Easy assembly, goes into the hands that they provide, no problem. No, I didn't do a picture of a two-hand lift because Guido doesn't need a two-hand lift for something like that. I'd rather him one-hand lift and thumbs up and say everything's good, right? But yes, because of the wobbliness and lack of firm balance to this, Really, you got to play a little bit longer to get him to stand up and posing with this. So that on other figures might compromise my judgment on it, but really because this was just an ad and not core to his character, I didn't let it affect my perspective on this. So yes, I say this is a worthy Guido, strong guy from X Factor, 100%. However, that goes to saying it's not a credit necessarily to the re-release of this figure that he is worthy. It's because um what's the wording here? You didn't have to buy a wave of them to get Guido finally, right? You didn't have to buy 5, 6, whatever figures to get them. Now it's a direct to retail market. I paid $51 plus my discount at GameStop/EB Games here in Ottawa, Ontario. That's going to be a lower price, probably in the 30 something for you guys in the US. And it is a worthy figure. Yes, there might be a little bit of articulation issues in the shoulders for some of you, but for others who are a big fan of the X-Men and Guido, and we're looking forward to getting him in the collection, that won't slow down the purchase strength of this and the satisfaction you'll feel once you get it out. Guys, that's all I got to say on this one. I'm going to go out, play with this guy, pair him off, take some photos and some video a little bit like I always do. Just notice that's another thing you can see is that there are pins in those knees, right? You can see the pins. That's the other clue. It is a reissue, right? But that's going to do it for this tactical perspective, guys. Thank you very much for joining me, and we'll have some more stuff to look at and play with, either from Marvel Legends or from my main collection of G.I. Joe Classified very soon. Thanks again.